Hey there, fourth graders. So we did fractions and decimals there for a few days, and we did a lot of fractions before that. Today we're going to shift and start talking about angles. But before we begin that, I have a joke for you, and this is a good one. This is one that's especially for today. When you're cold, where should you go? When you're cold, you should go and huddle in the corner of a room because it's always 90 degrees, right? The corner of a room. 90 degrees, right? Got it? Okay. So today we're talking about angles. Now, if you remember, I'm just going to draw two angles on the board. So if you remember, with angles, what we care about is this measure of opening, or how open or closed the angle is. That's what we measure with angles. And the amount of openness or closeness that angle has is called degrees. We measure it in degrees. 1 degree is 1/360th of a circle, because we could kind of keep measuring this all around. So degrees are actually technically fractions they're technically fractions, but everything is technically a fraction, right? So when we take a look at these two angles that I've drawn, we can know a few things from this. Now, we know if I'm going to take a look at this and say which angle is bigger and which angle is smaller, I know that this angle is going to be the bigger angle, and I know that this angle here is going to be the smaller angle. I also know a couple other things, and I know that because this opening is larger. It has more. If you think of this taking up part like this, how much of a circle this takes up, this chunk would be a bigger circle, and this chunk would be a smaller part of the circle. This one is also larger than 90 degrees. It's larger than, remember, a perfect L shape. A perfect L shape is a right angle. So angles that are bigger than that right angle are going to be called obtuse angles. And angles that are smaller than that are going to be called acute angles, because they're just a cute little angle. Okay. So then a couple things for us to know, and this would be a right angle, because right angles are in a perfect L shape and they are exactly 90 degrees. Now, angles can take on all sorts of funny, not really funny, they can just take on all sorts of different looks. Like this. Here I have a straight line. And some students say, well, Mr. D, that's not an angle, that's just a line, and you need two lines to form an angle. But let's say that this was actually a midpoint here in the middle, in which case I do have two lines joining together. So a straight line actually takes up one half of a rotation of a circle. If you think about how that would look as a circle, it'd be about half of a circle. Wow, that is a good half of a circle, by the way. So this is what we call a straight angle. They really thought hard about how they wanted to name that one. They just decided to call let's just call it a straight angle. And then it's 180 degrees. It's not so crucial, you know that the degree measure on that, but that straight angle is 180 degrees. But that is still an angle. A flat line is still an angle, and if you were to look at this and ask, is this an acute, right, or obtuse triangle, the opening here is bigger than the perfect L shape. It's bigger than a right angle, so it is going to be obtuse. So that is an obtuse angle. So if I were to compare this straight angle with, say, like this itty-bitty acute angle, I would obviously say that the obtuse angle, this straight angle, is bigger. Here's another shape that you could have. Let's say I had something that looked like this. And they'll always tell you on the math problems, they'll always tell you whether it's wanting to measure inside that or around the outside. They'll always put a little circle part to tell you why you're measuring. So in this case, we're actually measuring this outer part of the angle. So we're saying this angle from here all the way around to there. So you have to ask yourself, is that a acute angle, a right angle, or an obtuse angle? Well, obviously, this angle is bigger than a perfect L shape because it goes clear around. So in this case, this one would be an obtuse angle because it's starting at this point and going clear around. But even, let's take a look at this angle. Some students will say, oh, Mr. D, that is an acute angle for sure, because look at that opening. But again, the little mark is telling us that we're actually measuring, every angle technically kind of has two angles that you can look at it as. There's the inside one and the outside one, or the interior and exterior, maybe what they're called. Anyway, you'll get to that when you do geometry. But if I'm measuring from here all the way around to there, in that case, that's an obtuse angle. If I'm measuring all the way around the outside of that circle. I know, a little bit trippy. Now, however, if I'm not measuring the outside of the circle, and I'm just measuring this little guy in here, then it's acute. So it just depends on where that little line is that they're measuring. Let's do one more kind of trippy one, and then we'll do another example or two maybe. Let's say that I had this. And that's the angle they wanted you to measure. In this case, it's actually a full circle because they're wanting you to measure and go there and all the way around. So that's actually a 360-degree angle. So angles are a lot of fun because you can do a lot with them. So all you're doing today is you're just comparing whether an angle is, you're going to be comparing two angles and saying whether they're acute, right, or obtuse, and then taking two different angle sizes and showing which one's bigger and which one is smaller. So a few things for you to remember. Acute are angles that are less than 90 degrees. So this would be an example. They're angles that are less than 90 degrees, or they have a smaller opening than that perfect L shape. The next one is a right angle. A right angle is one that is equal to 90 degrees, and it has a perfect L shape. It's a perfect L shape. It's the corner of a room, right? It's 90 degrees, so you can stay warm there. Then you have obtuse angles. Obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees. So that would be this guy here. It has a larger opening, that perfect L shape. And then you also should know straight angles. Straight angles are exactly 180 degrees. And a straight angle is a type of obtuse angle. If you have an obtuse angle that's 180 degrees, it's a straight angle. So those are some measurements for you to know today. So good luck on your math. Thank you for your hard work and keep it up. Toodaloo.